Well, I was going to church in Northeast Minneapolis, and we were doing a food program there. I knew that students in Northeast were having problems just having meals, and especially on the weekends, really having a difficulty just knowing whether they were going to be able to eat or not. And we knew that was a problem, but I was teaching at Chaska High School, and so I just assumed that out here that's not an issue. God decided to show me that was not correct. And I had a student, I was teaching senior English, and I had a student in my class who was having some trouble. He would come to school and not really be actively involved in class. He would be sleeping a lot of times, especially on Mondays after the weekend, and I just didn't know what was going on with him. And one day we had a parent permission slip that we had to get the kids to sign, or to have their parents sign. And the kid came up to me after class and he said, "You know, I just don't know what to do with this because my parents, I don't even know where they are. I live on my own. I pay rent. I have to just take care of myself. And so I don't know who I should have sign this." He had no food. I ended up asking him a little bit about it, and he said, yeah, all the money goes to rent and gas to get to work because he worked a full-time job after school every single day. And so we just found out, okay, this kid needs some help. And so we tried to get him some food. We had a food shelf in our school, and so we started getting him some bags of food to have on Fridays especially, so that on the weekends he could eat. That really seemed to help him. He started turning things around. He started doing better in school. He was coming to school more, and he was passing all of his classes. As I started doing some things with him, some other students started to come on my radar. We found out that there were a couple students who were homeless, and they were not having normal everyday meals. And so we just said, okay, this is a bigger problem. We have a food shelf in our school, but it was basically just for emergency use. And so kids could get it a couple times a year when they really needed it, but there were kids that needed it every single week. I decided to go and meet with my principal and ask him if I could start this care team and try and partner with a nonprofit called Sheridan Story to get some of the food needs met every single week for these students. And he said, yes, absolutely, let's do that. And within the first couple of weeks of that school year, we had sponsors pouring in and people saying, we want to sponsor these kids. We want to make sure that they can have food every single weekend so that they are not going to wonder if they're going to eat and not be able to do their homework and all those other things because they're hungry. I was just thinking we were going to meet the needs of a few kids that really needed it at my school, but God had a much bigger and better plan.
This past year we did a survey as a church, and one of the main things that our community spoke about was really wanting to get more involved in our local community. And one way that we thought we might be able to do that after hearing Jerry Ann talk about her work at the high school was to try and get these kids in the community at some of these schools some nutritious food over the weekends. And my wife happens to work at La Academia, which is the Spanish immersion school in Chaska. And since I already had a relationship there, we decided as a staff that it would be good for me to go and just have a conversation and see if that was something they felt would be beneficial. Eventually, they approved a partnership between us and La Academia. And after hearing what Jerry Ann had done with the Sheridan Story, we just felt like that was the most cost-effective and efficient way to get nutritious food for the kids. Each student, to sponsor them, it's $130 for the school year for them to get meals over the weekend. About $10 a month isn't much to many of us, but to these kids who need nutritious food on the weekends, that means the world. And La Academia thought we'd maybe have 30 or 40 students, and we're actually going to sponsor 54 students this year to get meals. That just shows how much of a need there is in Chaska. Sheridan Story drops off enough food for a month, and they put them in bins. And what we do is we come in on Thursday evenings, our volunteers go in and they actually separate out all the meals for these children, put them in separate bins, and each of those bins goes to the teacher's classroom. That way the teachers can discreetly give the meals to each child that needs them so that they're not singled out or bullied because they're getting something that the other kids aren't getting. Every year here at Westbrook we give away our Christmas Eve offering, and this year it's going to go to help fund this program at La Academia. We're so excited about this partnership and this program, and we hope that it's just the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship with the school district and La Academia. Thanks for giving generously.